All right, let's join palms and bow. The four great vows. I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings. I vow to cut off endless vexations. I vow to master limitless approaches to Dharma. I vow to attain supreme Buddhahood. Welcome, everybody. So today we are going to talk about Prajnaparamita. It's a third part of my series on Nagarjuna's teachings on Prajnaparamita as translated by Bhikshu Dharma. And I'm going to put a link to the PDF here so that you know where this is coming from. Give me a moment while I find that link. Here. And it is chapters 29 and 30 of this amazing work. It's pretty dense, but it's incredibly rich. It's incredibly rich. It's worth working with. So in this book, Nagarjuna is actually, this is an actually excerpt from Nagarjuna's larger treatise. And in this section, he's going through each of the paramitas, the 6 perfections. And he talks about how each paramita, each practice point, if you will, each of these 6 paramitas are how to practice in Mahayana. And he says how each of these practice points become transcendent in that, how do they take you all the way to along the path towards Buddhahood. And Prajnaparamita is, of course, the most important of all of these 6 paramitas. I'm going to show you a slide of the 6 paramitas so that you know this context, and we'll return to each of them this time. Because each of them, the practice of each paramita is both enriched by Prajnaparamita, the transcendence of wisdom, and lead to Prajnaparamita. This is the perfect circular, intertwined Indra's net nature of the teachings of the Buddha. So all of the other 5 paramitas, both are based, if you will, or supported by Prajnaparamita, the transcendence of wisdom, and they also lead to Prajnaparamita. So you can think of the paramitas like this, like a six-sided vajra, if you will, a 6-pointed vajra, where you can go from any one point and it leads to all of the others. So we've got prajna, which is wisdom, and we have dhyana, which is meditation. We have shila, ethics, and we have dana, generosity, virya, inspired effort, and shanti, patience. So these are the 6 paramitas. And Prajnaparamita is both, if you look at it one way, it's the flowering of everything else. If you look at it from the other direction, it is the base of everything else. Each of the paramitas can lead to Prajnaparamita, and each of the paramita, in order to become a transcendence, going beyond what is apparent into what is true and absolute, require Prajnaparamita. So I'm going to remind you of this, how Nagarjuna defines Prajnaparamita, and then we'll go we'll go from there. So today we are going to talk about what is the definition of Prajnaparamita, and then two other sources that can enrich this understanding of Prajnaparamita, and then we'll go into how each of the practice of each of the paramitas lead to every other paramita. So in here, Nagarjuna, when he talks about what is this Prajnaparamita, he says that Prajnaparamita is the wisdom which knows, in accordance with reality, the true characteristics of dharmas. That's Prajnaparamita. So let me break that down just a little bit. It's wisdom, and wisdom which knows, so that it's a knowing. Prajna, it means knowing, and it's the same word root as know in knowledge. It's the same exact word root. It's the same word root that's in ignorance as in the not knowing. Ig is the igno. The ig is the negation of knowing. So it's the same exact word root, and that's in prajna. And here is the wisdom which knows in accordance with reality. So it's in accordance with reality. And that word accordance is very, very important. There's an according. It's in accordance with reality. So if you just took that word accordance with reality, you can make a practice out of it. What is it to accord with reality? With what is? To proceed further on that definition, wisdom which knows. So there's again just a knowing that itself is prajna. And how is this knowing? It knows in accordance. In accordance with what? With reality. And what does it know? It knows the true character of dharmas. Dharmas here is phenomena. They're objects of mind. So knowing truly the true character of the objects of mind. What is that true character of dharmas? The word here is dharmata. That's the true character of dharmas. What is that? What is the true character of dharma? Would anybody want to hazard a guess? Or not a guess, an answer, a response? How about that? What is the true character of dharmas? Go on. Hi, Tori.
My guess is emptiness.
Emptiness is the true character of dharmas. Is it just emptiness?
No, it's not just that. It's not. It's the emptiness that also includes all apparent realities.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Better term. Yeah, I know how to answer much better in Chinese.
Okay, well, see, Nagarjuna himself has talked about the two truths, which is the apparent and the absolute reality, and which is what you're alluding to. Thank you. And Robert, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I think it's the emptiness of the emptiness nature of self nature. It's almost like the heart of the Dhammakaya is the absolute self nature of it. Ultimately, it's the nature itself is like Everything is emptiness. But it's not that it's empty. Is everything is a result of causes and condition. Everything, every tree, every house, every you, every me, every event, the true nature of everything inside ultimately is that is the true nature of it. It's the self nature of
Mm-hmm.
of of something I don't even know how to call it.
Okay, thank you very much. So in the Yogacara tradition, instead of there's the three characteristics of phenomena. The conditioned nature is one of them. That it accords with causes and conditions. So that it accords with pratitya samutpada. So the wisdom which knows this is Prajnaparamita. And elsewhere in the same treatise, Nagarjuna says, Prajnaparamita is knowing the specific characteristics of phenomena, that a tree is a tree, as well as the general characteristics of phenomena, which is that it is empty, which is that it's appearing perfectly according to causes and conditions. So that's the definition of Prajnaparamita. And further, when asked to say more about what is this Prajnaparamita, he says that, hey, let me contrast for you what this Prajnaparamita is with what is beyond even Prajnaparamita. So he says that, well, Prajnaparamita is how bodhisattvas know reality. But the way the Buddhas know is something different. So he says that all bodhisattvas, from the time of first bringing forth the resolve to realize bodhi or awakening, seek to gain the knowledge of all modes. This knowledge of all modes, sarva akara jnata, that's the way the Buddhas know. This is the knowledge of all modes. And in the interim period, so until there is the anuttara samyak sambodhi, the complete unsurpassed enlightenment, awakening of the Buddha, until then, in the interim period, that wisdom which knows in accordance with reality the true character of dharmas is what qualifies as Prajnaparamita. So what we talked about earlier, Prajnaparamita is like in the interim, as bodhisattvas, we are walking the bodhisattva path. That is a knowing. But the Buddhas themselves, their knowing is this knowledge of all modes. You can think of it as an omniscience that is unimpeded. So a couple of, when I did the two previous talks on this topic. The first one, I quoted Kamala Shila on this Sarva Akara Jnata. So I want to bring in a couple more viewpoints to help this to explore this more, if you will. So one other place that this is talked about is in the sutra, the same sarva akara jnata. This term comes about is in the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment, and I'm going to read to you from the translation that under the guidance of Master Shingen, Guogu's translation actually, but it was under the guidance of Master Shingen in the book, the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment by Master Shingen. So here he says, this is just listen first. Virtuous man All bodhisattvas and sentient beings in the Dharma ending age should at no time give rise to deluded thoughts. Virtuous man, all bodhisattvas and sentient beings in the Dharma ending age should at no time give rise to deluded thoughts. Yet, when their deluded minds arise, they should not extinguish them. Yet, when their deluded minds arise, they should not extinguish them. In the midst of deluded concepts, they should not add discriminations. Amidst non-discrimination, they should not distinguish the true reality. If sentient beings, upon hearing this Dharma method, believe in, understand, accept and uphold it, and do not generate alarm and fear, they are in accordance with the nature of enlightenment. So what a whammy this is. Just listen again. First, don't give rise to deluded thoughts. 2, when there's deluded thinking, when deluded minds arise, don't try to extinguish it. And in the middle of deluded concepts, don't add discrimination. And when not discriminating, don't try to distinguish true reality. And if that doesn't scare you, if you can have faith in this, what is being taught here, if you can understand it, if you can accept it, and if you can practice it, well, hey, you're in accordance with the nature of enlightenment. Really tall order. And Nagarjuna puts this as really as the practice of no practice, if you will. Let me see if I can find the place where he says this. Sorry, I'm kind of winging it here because I wanted to share this with you. So where he, I'm not sure if I can find it. So where he says that, can you just not do anything at all? Right? It's about not doing anything at all. And come on, let me see if I can find it. So this is the practice of no practice, right? This is a practice of no practice. And that's what this is pointing to. That, first, don't give rise to deluded thinking. But if there are deluded thoughts, don't try to get rid of them. And don't discriminate. And in this non-discriminating, don't try to discern, hey, what is true reality and what is not. So this state of no practice is a state where no practice is no longer required. And yes, we actually do need to practice before reaching the state. So this reminds me of a story of this is in the Tibetan tradition. There's a story where somebody asked a master, how often do you meditate? And he said, well, I don't meditate. And then we're like, okay, well then, how come? I mean, do you even practice? And he said, well, I am not distracted, that I'm never distracted. So non-meditation is non-distraction. That's what this is pointing to. This is pointing to a state of no meditation, which is there's nothing that you're doing that is somehow different, that you're so according with reality as it is that there isn't anything extra to be done. Truly, if in that first sentence that I shared with you on the definition of Prajnaparamita, to be in accordance, right? If you were to just practice that simply accord, like Hanshan says, simply accord with whatever mind you're in, whatever state of mind you're in, that is this. That if you were to truly accord with reality as it is, then when you're truly in accord, then there is nothing to be done. And that's what's being taught about here in this Sutra of Complete Enlightenment. And further on, he says, virtuous man, you should know that these sentient beings have made offerings to hundreds of thousands of millions of Buddhas and great bodhisattvas as innumerable as the grains of the sand of the Ganges, and have planted the roots of all merits. I say such people will accomplish the Buddha's wisdom of all aspects. That's that word, the wisdom of all aspects, is the translation of Sarva Akara Jnata. And I'm going to copy paste, a note of the footnote from this, so that you can see it, because it has some Chinese terms, and I think you may find it useful. So in here, he talks about in the footnote. The footnote is about this Sarva Akara Jnata is actually one of three wisdoms of the Buddha. The three wisdoms of the Buddha are wisdom of all things. I'm gonna try. I mean, I'm just gonna pronounce this without any tones. Yi Che Je. Wisdom of all things. That is Sarva Jnata. And that is the omniscient wisdom that realizes the emptiness of all things. And the second type of the second wisdom of the three wisdoms of the Buddha is a wisdom of the path. Dao Zong Je. Marga Jnata. Refers to the wisdom of knowing all there is to know about the conventional realm, especially with regard to saving sentient beings. It's the wisdom of the path. And then there's the wisdom of all aspects, which is this thing here, that Sarva Akara Jnata that Nagarjuna talked about. It's a universal wisdom. It refers to the perfect knowledge of reality as it is. Right, so, and you can see why of all of these three, Nagarjuna chose the third one. Because the third wisdom is a culmination of the other two. The first wisdom is knowing the omniscient wisdom that realizes the emptiness of all things. The second wisdom is the wisdom of knowing apparent reality, right? The conventional realm. We're talking about the wisdom of knowing apparent reality. And here, it's not just apparent reality, but with regard to saving sentient beings. What that really means is that it's pointing to great compassion. It's about knowing the conventional reality so as to deliver sentient beings. And then the third wisdom is a perfect knowing of reality as it is, which actually includes the other two wisdoms. So that you can see why Nagarjuna brought these two together and just said, hey, the wisdom of the Buddhas, where Prajnaparamita is leading towards, is this wisdom of all aspects, Sarva Akara Jnata, knowledge of all modes. That's Bhikshu Dharmamitra's translation. And it is the perfect knowledge of reality as it is. So that's one other. It really helps sometimes when you're working on something to see it from multiple perspectives, because then each perspective illuminates our exploration. So I'm going to read to you one more on this, on Prajnaparamita. And this one is from the book Progressive Stages of Meditation on Emptiness by Khenpo Tsultrim Gyamtso Rinpoche. So here he says, the luminous, self-aware, non-conceptual mind that is experienced in meditation, when the mind is completely free from concepts, is absolute reality. And not a Vijnana. And Vijnana is the Sanskrit word for consciousness that is part of the 5 skandhas. So he's saying here, this luminous, self-aware, non-conceptual mind. That's that's actually absolute reality. It's not Vijnana. It's not consciousness. Vijnana is always samvriti. What that means is Vijnana is always it's a covering. Samvriti is like a covering. It's like a cataract. It's like an occlusion. There's this word, I think, occlusion. It blinds, if you will. It's a blinding. And it is not what is found by the supreme wisdom, prajna, that sees absolute reality. So you can see how he's distinguishing these words in such a way that I found pretty useful. So prajna is a supreme wisdom that sees absolute reality. That's the way Khenpo Tsultrim Gyamtso Rinpoche is defining it. Prajna is the wisdom, the supreme wisdom that sees absolute reality, and it is and what is it doing? It's saying, when he said that it is not the samvriti, this covering, you can infer from that, if you will, that prajna is the wisdom that pierces through that occlusion, that covering, and sees absolute reality. So then he says, when the luminous, self-aware, non-conceptual mind, that is the wisdom mind, is realized by the supreme wisdom, there is no seeing or seen aspect. Let me break that down. When the luminous, self-aware, non-conceptual mind, and he actually happens to use the capital M mind here, and that is the wisdom mind. And he uses a word, jnana, as the wisdom mind. So it's a knowing, and he puts that as above prajna. So these are all like technical terminology that can vary sometimes from school to school, but so don't get too caught up in the exact. For example, in the Chinese and in the Zen Chan and the Zen traditions, prajna is just, we don't put jnana higher than prajna, if you will, but in certain Tibetan traditions they do. So, but notice the distinctions here. It's useful, and when it comes to Prajnaparamita, you'll see how they all come together. So prajna is a supreme wisdom that cuts through illusions, that illusory covering, that occlusion, to see absolute reality. The luminous, self-aware, non-conceptual mind, that's the wisdom mind, jnana, is the same capital M mind that Gilbert talks about. It is realized by supreme wisdom, that's prajna. Okay, But when it is realized, there's no seeing and seen aspect. What this means is there is no separation between subject and object. There's no seeing and seen aspect. No realizing and realized aspect to the realization. So there is no distinction between subject and object. So in that mind sandwich that Gilbert says, these two things are not separate. There's the one, these all both together is mind. It is just that there is prajna looking at absolute reality. Okay, it's a rujing, if you will. So this is called the transcendence of supreme wisdom. So he's saying now this is Prajnaparamita. So there's a regular prajna. He's distinguishing regular prajna from Prajnaparamita. So he's saying the regular prajna is what is piercing through the veils, the covering, the samvriti, and sees absolute reality. But when there is no, when that seeing is complete, when the veil has been pierced through, then there is no separation at all. And at that point, it's called transcendence of supreme wisdom. It's called Prajnaparamita. And it is none other than the non-conceptual wisdom mind itself. That's mind. He's saying that's mind. Jnana, that's mind. It is also called the non-dual wisdom mind, jnana. The clear light, prabhasvara, I think it's prabhasvara, nature of mind, and dhatu, which is a spacious expanse or element. So he's saying all of these things are the same exact thing. Prajnaparamita, clear light, wisdom mind, all of these are the same exact thing. Elsewhere it is called the element or dhatu. It's called awareness, inseparable. It's called clarity and emptiness, inseparable. In some translations, it's called the union of clarity and emptiness. It's called the union of bliss and emptiness. It's also called the dharmata and the tathagata garbha. Okay, so what he's saying is Prajnaparamita is that transcending, and when that transcending happens, then there is just mind. That's called clear light. That's called nature of mind. That's called that's called awareness. That's called the unity of clarity and emptiness. That's called the unity of bliss and emptiness. It's all of these things are the exact same. So that's a little bit of let's look at this Prajnaparamita from a couple of different perspectives as well, and explore it from these various sutras and treatises. Okay, so next we are going to look at how Prajnaparamita, what is this practice of of the paramitas? So practicing the paramitas is the practice in the Mahayana traditions. Now, what is the practice itself? How is Prajnaparamita realized? So in here, I'm going to give you a real quick overview because we are, we've got maybe 15 minutes-ish on this. So he talks about, you can approach the practice of the 6 paramitas by first perfecting. There's so many different ways. He talks about so many different ways. So by first perfecting, three of these paramitas as a way of making your lifestyle conducive to the attainment of Prajnaparamita. Which are those 3 basic things? The 3 basic things are Dana, which is generosity. Shila, which is morality, the practice of morality. And Shanti, which is the practice of patience. When you practice these, then what happens is that your mind stream, if you will, for lack of a better word, your mind stream becomes rich ground for Prajnaparamita to arise, for more vigorous cultivation of the paramitas. So these are like, hey, let's make sure that the basics are there, that the basics are in place, so that it's possible to take on the more advanced, if you will, paramitas. And this has a lot to do with how you live your daily lives. Can you be generous? Can you practice morality, which can start with just following the precepts? And can you practice patience? So that's one way of doing it. So to make sure that there is this platform for practice, and then you actually, you go bring it on into the next level of the paramitas, which is this virya or vigor, which is making your practice energetic, making your practice continuous, making your practice not conditional, if you will, not conditional, because you can practice these other things in a conditional kind of a way. You can say that, hey, I've got wealth, or whatever I can give, let me give, it will help me in another lifetime, right? You can say that, let me live a moral life so that, next lifetime I'm not going to be in a bad way, right? Let me practice patience so that, I don't run afoul of, say, moral precepts, right? Patience is really important. Otherwise, you're going to lose it. You're going to do you may not, hopefully, you may not go kill somebody, but you may indulge in harmful behavior because you lost it, right? So, so these three, the first three are like, you can be hedging your bets, but the next level of paramitas, it's time to go all in. And vigor, virya, is that first one where you actually go all in to your practice. And here, you use this virya in order to cultivate dhyana, which is meditation. It can be broadly called meditation, but Nagarjuna defines dhyana as the dhyana absorptions, which in Chinese are the Suochan Ba-Ding, the 4 dhyana or jhana absorptions, and the eight stations, which includes the next level of the following 4 absorptions. So he says that you have to have that vigor, which is that the energy you bring in to your practice, and that energy has to be continuous. It has to be unconditional. And when you do that and you devote it towards your meditation practice, then you're going to get rid of the 5 desires, meaning that those are the worldly cravings. The 5 worldly cravings are, craving for money, craving for, lust, craving, food cravings, fame, craving for fame, craving for even sleep. Those are the 5 worldly cravings. You can conquer those, the sense cravings, as well as the 5 hindrances, which includes these cravings: ill will, doubt, dullness of mind and sleepiness, this agitated mind with regret and restlessness. All of those can be conquered with vigor, with this paramita of vigor. So then he says, and then he says, with dhyana as the basis, then prajna can be attained, because the mind has to be that stable to be able to pierce through the illusions, the illusory veil that covers reality as it is. So this is one way of practice, if you will. This is a first do the, and you can think of it as 2 different, you can think of it as for some people, maybe that basic 3 are the only ones they practice. But you as a sincere practitioner of Chan, you could say that let those basic 3 permeate every aspect of your life, so that your life becomes rich ground for the sincere practice of the higher 3 paramitas, which is this vigor, virya, dhyana, meditation, and prajna, wisdom. So that's one way to practice the 6 paramitas. Another way to practice the 6 paramitas is to just take one and just go all in on that one thing. And doing so, you will attain all of the other paramitas, because in order to go all in on any of the paramitas, you will need Prajnaparamita. And because you'll be practicing Prajnaparamita, it'll take you to all of the other paramitas. And as an example, he says, let's take, for example, dana or giving. When you cultivate dana or generosity as a paramita, then when you do this, when you really sincerely practice generosity, then you will at some point discover, what is this generosity? What are the characteristics of generosity? Because if you want to practice generosity, you need to know what the characteristics of generosity is. And then you will find, like you would find if you were to look into the characteristics of anything at all, you will find that these characteristics are neither singular nor different, that they are neither permanent nor impermanent, that they are neither existent nor non-existent, which is the practice of Prajnaparamita. So if you truly want to practice generosity, you'll have to look into what this generosity is. And this applies to all of the paramitas. And when you look into the real, what is this generosity? What is this moral virtue? Then you can't but see the true characteristics of that one paramita. And when you see the true characteristics of a paramita, you can't just stop at that one paramita. Then you have to see the true characteristics of all phenomena. And that is Prajnaparamita. So and then he talks about how if you're looking like this at moral virtue, Shila, morality, and if you don't stop with some kind of an artificial separation of I'm moral and you are not. Then all of these distinctions and discriminations and discernments all dissolve until you land on Prajnaparamita. And if you're practicing patience, Shanti, if you're practicing patience, then you have to practice patience with respect to dharmas. When you practice patience with dharmas, then you have to enter into the ultimate emptiness. Because this patience is the patience that, as Master Shengyen's in his book on the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment, this patience is simply that ability that is beyond discernment and non-discernment. And so it goes with if you were to recognize Prajnaparamita through simply with vigor or virya, right? Then with vigor, one of the very important aspects in the application of vigor is to know is the four exertions. You would have heard about the four exertions. If something is wholesome, don't lose it. If something if something is wholesome and it is already there, then don't lose it. If something is wholesome, it's not there, then cultivate it. If something is unwholesome and it's not there, don't bring it up. If something is unwholesome and if it is there, you let go of it. So that the four exertions are a prime way in which vigor is used, and vigor or virya is used. And Nagarjuna is saying here that if one constantly abides in the midst of good dharmas and is able to bring all good dharmas to completion, in an instance where one employs wisdom to analyze and make distinctions with respect to dharmas, one then develops a penetrating understanding of the nature of dharmas. It is at this point that vigor then serves to assist in the realization of wisdom. So in order to employ vigor like I just talked about with the four exertion, there needs to be that, hey, is this wholesome or not wholesome, right? And when you and that looking into is it wholesome or not wholesome is the prajna that cuts through the veil, the illusory covering that covers absolute reality. So it is that cutting through to absolute reality. So that's vigor. So that leads to Prajnaparamita. And now, and we've talked about how from Prajnaparamita there's a leap to the knowing of the Buddhas, which is beyond, discernment and non-discernment, as in the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment. And when it comes to using dhyana as a or meditation for the realization of Prajnaparamita, if one employs a deep mind to focus one's thoughts, one becomes able to perceive the true character of dharmas in accordance with reality. So here, everything one knows and perceives is also seen as entirely false and deceptive. And as for that which can actually be trusted, it's only that wisdom cognizing the true character of dharmas acquired by the Buddhas across the course of countless kalpas. Because this wisdom is anchored in single-minded contemplation of the true character of dharmas, while in the midst of dhyana concentration, it is this circumstance which constitutes the development of Prajnaparamita from within this practice of dhyana meditation. So this practice of dhyana meditation that involves single-minded contemplation and single-minded contemplation of the true character of dharmas constitutes the development of Prajnaparamita. So that's why dhyana meditation can lead to Prajnaparamita. So this is how you could a couple of ways we've covered already. There's a platform of the lower paramitas on which the higher paramitas can be cultivated. Or you could just take one paramita and really go into it. To really go into it, you cannot but use Prajnaparamita, which in turn leads to the fruition of the Bodhisattva path. And of all of these 6 paramitas, only Prajnaparamita is called Maha, for this reason, that it is a fruition. It's not just a path, if you will. And you could just practice Prajnaparamita only, independent of the other perfections. And here Nagarjuna says, in some cases, there may be those who gain a penetrative understanding of the true character of dharmas entirely apart from the practice of the other 5 paramitas. This being accomplished simply through listening, reading, reciting, contemplating, and analyzing. In such a case as this, it is based on these provisional approaches to developing wisdom that Prajnaparamita is born. So this is a path of just, if you will, studying the Dharma, unsupported by the other 5 paramitas. So this is just paramita, but note that as you go into it, just like all of the other paramitas lead to Prajnaparamita, if you just go into it just from Prajnaparamita, it's going to lead to all of the other all of the other paramitas as well. So that's how we talked about a little bit about what Prajnaparamita is, where it is leading to the wisdom of all aspects, or the knowledge of all modes. That is the wisdom of the Buddhas. There's the knowing of the Buddhas, if you will. That is, it's leading there, and how to practice the paramitas. A few ways that Nagarjuna talks about. So with that, I'll end today's talk and open to any questions or comments.
I just wanted to say really quick, Sentha, thank you very much. Much gratitude. This was an excellent lecture.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye. Tori.
Yes, thank you so much for the talk. When you said all modes,
Yes.
MODES?
MODES, knowledge of all modes, is how Bhikshu Dharmamitra translates that. The same thing that Master Shengyan's book calls wisdom of all modes.
Okay.
And that's that, what does it say here? Did I put the wasn't there a Chinese term for it? How strange that give me a moment. There's a Chinese term for the other 2, but not this one, huh? Sorry. You were going to say something. I'll look for this. I'll see if there's a term for this as well.
No, I was just asking. Just want to make sure that what I'm hearing is correct. Is modes is MODES.
Yes, it is modes. Yes. Anybody else?
Yeah, hi Sentha. Thanks so
Hey,
much.
Michael.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
My question is about right view. So, does Nagarjuna state explicitly what right view is and mind? Because he's in the Madhyamika, and from what I know, they don't talk about mind with a capital M so much there. This is also why you brought in the Tibetan as help. And I wonder how the perfection, the perfected mind, how it is realized in Nagarjuna without explicitly talking about mind.
So, you're right. That's why I brought that Tibetan thing. But where he says that Prajnaparamita is the same as mind, capital mind, right? That's what he's saying. If you take, so that was the and he talks about he talks about the Sarvajñata as well. I think, pretty sure. Give me a moment. Let me just double check. No, he doesn't. So there's a slight difference. There's a slight difference, Michael. So here, Nagarjuna talks about two things, like the Bodhisattva's wisdom is Prajnaparamita, contrasted to the Buddha's wisdom, which is Sarva Akara Jnata. Okay, so there's a leap between the Prajnaparamita and the Sarva Akara Jnata. So that's Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Here, it's a flickering lamp. This is a flickering lamp. The Buddha's wisdom is constant and unimpeded, all encompassing. I would say that's mind with a capital M, more than even Prajnaparamita, because Prajnaparamita is the flickering lamp. And Nagarjuna talks about how, say you bring a lamp into a dark room, that's all it takes to illuminate the dark room. Now, say you bring an even brighter lamp, right? He says that the Bodhisattva's wisdom is like this like little flickering lamp. It is extremely valuable, extremely useful. It beats darkness any day. But the Buddha's wisdom is this brighter lamp that is not at all, say, flickering or wavy. So there's a distinction there. So the Khenpo Sultan Gyamso Rinpoche is talking about this as Prajnaparamita itself is the ultimate knowing. So it's just slight difference there. Does that help? So
Yeah, very interesting. And then also you brought in the perfection. How is it called?
The Sutra of Complete Enlightenment. Yeah.
Which I'm not sure. Is it a Tathagata Gaba text?
Yes.
Or okay.
Very much so. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Very
Thank you.
much so. Yeah. Anybody else?
Sentha, do you know the meaning of the word akara?
It's aspects.
And that's aspects.
In this context.
And jnana,
yeah. All aspects, all modes, all things ish. That's what I would have guessed based on other contexts. But
jnata sounds like it has the wisdom in it. Jnata.
Yeah, it's I would say that there doesn't seem to be a big deal of difference between jnana and jnata. But in these contexts, the JNATA is a word that's being used when talking about the knowing of the Buddha.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? All right. Thank you very much for your practice, and thank you for attending today's lecture. Amitofo.
Thank you, Sentha.
Thank you.